Fellows Monthly Workshops was an initiative that started by one of our global fellows who is now graduated from the program, Shada Nassar. She is now overseeing the civic engagement program at Al Quds Bard College. And she started this initiative about 2 years ago, and it's been one of our most sustainable projects, I would say. And we have so far completed a series of 24 workshops. And this year we are doing another round of workshops, starting from the very first steps, continuing to how you can write a project report. So far, we have covered how can you turn your project idea into an actual project. And we also covered how can you recruit team members. And today is a very interesting session because we are going to be talking about today's session. We're going to talk about something which is really, really important for project leaders and even students who are learning to lead. We are going to be talking about how to write a proposal and how to create a budget. I also see Lara tuning in from BCB. Hi. Good to see you. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the floor to Hala to introduce herself, and then invite Sitora to introduce herself, and then they're going to be presenting. After the presentations are over, we will have a Q&A session where you will have a chance to ask any questions you might have regarding writing a proposal. So even if you had questions from before, if you had some thoughts that were confusing when it comes to writing a proposal and creating a budget, feel free to keep them, write them, and then during the Q&A session, you can ask those questions. So I'll pass it now to Hala and Sitora to take it from here and lead the session for today. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Hala Al-Anani from Al Quds Bard College. Some of you already know me. Others, maybe this is the first time they hear about me. I'm a senior year now in economics and finance, and I'm the global fellow presenting AQB, basically, alongside with Dareen, my fellow, my colleague fellow. Okay, so I'll leave it to Sitora to introduce herself, then we're gonna immediately start the presentation.
So I want to say that my name is Sitora. I am from Tajikistan, and I'm studying at the AUC, American University of Central Asia. So I'm majoring in European Studies department. So we are studying about European politics, society, economy, and languages. Me and Hala will be working on talking about how to write project proposal and how to secure budget funding. So if you have any questions in the end, maybe we'll be able to answer your question and then get involved. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start sharing the screen. So we get just a second, let me present it. Okay, so how to write a proposal for your project and apply for funding. The reason why I feel like, first of all, and before anything else, the reason why I feel this is such an important topic to be addressed in our workshops is because I feel it's the very basic step and still a very essential one. Because if you want to write a proposal for your project, this means you're writing it for someone, for some audience, category of audience. And these basically can be stakeholders. It can be yourself, it can be your team members, and it can introduce you yourself to your project. It can make you realize what you are about to pitch or initiate, what you are thinking of, and it just kind of organizes your thoughts and so on. But now, and before everything else, I just want to start by introducing what a project proposal is. According to like many, let me just move this here. Okay, never mind. According to many academic essays and academic references, a project proposal should be between 2 to 5 pages. It shouldn't be more, And I say it can be much less than 5 pages. It can be 2 maximum, and sometimes 3. And according to my previous experience, since I've taken how to write a project proposal in detail in a course called Introduction to Management, and this was initiated by the OSUN community. And in that course, we spent the whole semester just fixing and amending our project proposals. We started the course with writing a proposal, and throughout the whole course, we were just fixing the proposal. We were just trying to work on it to make it better and to go through the whole process. I'm going to explain it for you guys. And our final proposal was not more than 2.5 pages. It was maybe 3 pages. It wasn't 5 pages. But for bigger and big projects, you can have 5 pages of a proposal, but this is not really recommended. So basically, the whole purpose of a proposal is to deliver the key elements of a potential project, its prospects, aims that it wants to achieve, and most importantly, and above it all, the issue that you are trying to address and to solve throughout the process that you are addressing in your project proposal. So your project proposal essentially should have an issue that it tries to solve, and the process of the project is how you are trying to solve your issue. Okay, and from here, I'll take it as a startup for understanding what are the components of a project proposal, and I mean, what is the importance? Sorry, I messed it up with another slide. What is the importance of a project proposal? A project proposal does the following. It outlines the scope of the project. It makes you realize where you want to reach and which path are you taking to reach for your goal, because it explains the purpose of the project. Throughout, when you see or vision your purpose, you vision the scope, or maybe vice versa. If you see the scope of your project, you can limit your purpose, you can make it more detailed, and you can reach for your purpose better if you just outline the scope of the project. And this is what a project proposal helps you do. It plans and leads the project's process, because in the how section, later I'll explain that more, in the how section in a project proposal, you will have a very detailed plan about how you will lead the process in your project, how you will start with doing all of its implementations step by step. And this plans your project basically and leads you to achieve the long and short-term goals. And it's, of course, I mean, this is the fourth importance, but I guess many people just write their proposals for this purpose, which is to find funding. They use their proposals to present them to the stakeholders, to present them to external funders, and they like for applications for funding, and they apply their proposals so they can get funding after the stakeholders or whoever sponsors, funders, read the proposal and realize what this project is going to be about. So it is very important to write a project proposal that is so good so they convince these people to fund your project or help you reach what you want to reach, basically. Okay. Now to the most important part about a project proposal is the contents of a project proposal. What is consisted of? And it basically consists of these 3 elements: why, what, and how. In the why, you address your purpose. In the what, you address your outcomes. In the how, you address the process. And here are more details about this. Okay, so in the why section, in your proposal, you have to state the main goal of the project and the reasons why the project's problem should be solved. As I said, the most important part about the project proposal, and it's maybe the introductory part, but it's still like the essential part, is addressing the issue and what problem around you are trying to solve, and why should it be solved, why it is important to address such an issue and try to solve it. Okay, so this should be in the why section, and the why section comes at first of your proposal. It comes at the beginning. Why this project? And you state the main goal of your project and the reasons why the project's problem should be solved. You address the problem, you address why it should be solved. And this is very important, guys. Okay, now to the second section of the proposal, we go for the what. And the what, it is more complicated than the why, since you will be more detailed first. Second, you will be like, generally, this is the critical point where people might say, oh, you cannot reach for these outcomes. You're being too vague, or maybe you're being too not realistic. So for you to make your project proposal strong and to avoid being like having people being critical about your project, you have to address this clearly: the process outcomes and the content outcomes. The process outcomes basically include the qualitative outcomes. By that I mean, while, for example, you say, let's say, I'll just give you the example of my project that I worked on, and it's and I made a whole proposal for it. As I said, I worked for I and my team worked for a whole semester just to write a proposal for our project. And this was the whole purpose of the course, how to write a proposal about your project. And in our project, we were trying to, make, let's say, a mental health assistance club at my college, Al-Quds Bard. And that, okay, so our goal was clear: to create a culture among students at Al-Quds Bard about how important our mental health is, and just like to bring people together to understand each other better, to understand first themselves better, and to be aware of how important their mental health as students and as participants of the Palestinian community should be like, okay? But this is the very vague purpose, and this is the very vague, as I said, outcome. However, when we wanted to write the what, and we wrote this down, they were like, oh, this is rejected. This is not understandable. You have to be more precise. And we started doing it, we started working on more details. For example, we said that we will conduct a session at a Quds Board, and in that session, we will introduce, we will bring counselors, mental health counselors, 1 or 2 to the session, and they will address how important our mental health is, okay, with a specific group of people. So we started by writing in the what, the process outcome is in the first session at time blah, blah, blah. These people should be aware of why are we there, or why do we want to make a club at Al-Quds Board. So basically, it was very detailed from the very big purpose, and it was, and that's when it was approved, when we made it very detailed. In the process outcome, you have to put qualitative outcomes. For example, as I said, these people should be aware about us being in the college, about us having to pitch our club, which is called the AQB Mental Health Club. So this is a very basic outcome, but it's like it's the most detailed, and it's the goal of the first session, basically. So we wrote the process outcomes, first session, blah, 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 as I said previously. Okay, so that's when it was clear that the process outcome or the qualitative outcome was clear for everyone, and it was detailed enough, and it was ready to be pitched in the proposal. Okay, another thing, which is the content outcomes. Content outcomes include quantitative and measurable outcomes. After you finish the first session, okay, so what are you planning to achieve in quantitative terms? For example, we want in the first session, only 5 students came to the session, and we wanted 5 students, or let's say only 10 students came to the session, and we wanted the number from 5 to 10, and 10 students came, then this is a very measurable outcome that was achieved. So we put check next to it, basically. So we achieved a content outcome. And what I mean by content outcomes are those outcomes that you can measure, that are easily measurable. For example, we want the 10 people participate in each activity of our first session. And if the 10 people participated in each activity, we check it. So this is a content outcome that we reached, or that we are planning to reach. You can write here that we want 10 people to participate in each activity, or 7 people out of the 10 people. And if you reach it, then you check it. If you don't reach it, then you have to work more, you have to work more on the how section. because the how section is what makes you basically maybe amend or fix the outcomes that you are maybe desiring to achieve, but like you don't have the enough tools to achieve. So you go and start practicing with the how, so you know how to achieve these outcomes that you put for yourself. And now I'll explain the how. The how, it's very much longer than the what section and the why section. The how, you have to address the process that you want, the process that you are taking step by step. And this process should identify the goal it wants to achieve, or the outcome that we wrote in the what that it wants to achieve. Step-by-step process to accomplish your outcome. For example, in the how, as I said, we want to initiate the first session. In the first session, we say, okay, first, in the how, we say first, we hang up flyers in the college. So we market our first session. We put posters in the college, or we sent emails for the students. We write this, we're gonna send emails for the students, and we're gonna make a poster that has the time of the session, the day and the date and everything. So we have this step-by-step written in the how. Each step had an amount of time designated. What I mean by that, for example, we will have 1 to 2 days to hang up the flyers, to send the emails for just, marketing the first session. But during the session, let's say during the session, what are we gonna do? During the session, for example, we will have the first 5 minutes, the counselors will introduce themselves. So we write the first 5 minutes. For example, it starts at 2, the session starts at 2, it ends at 3. We say 2 to 2:05, counselors will introduce themselves. Then 5 minutes, we're gonna just let students introduce, or maybe 10 minutes, let students introduce themselves. So we write this down with time time periods next to each step that we are trying to accomplish. Okay, now as to the third, and we follow like the same strategy till we reach for the very last minute of the session. And this is when the how is ready. When you just plan every step in the, even before the session and during the session, with a time limit period. So you make it clear for the one who's reading your proposal, for yourself as the owner of the project, or your team members, for you guys to understand what it's all going to be up to, and in details, in very detailed details. Okay, now the third step in the how, as I said, each step should identify which outcomes it will help achieve. For example, let's say in the first session, we want students to try to draw their feelings down. Okay, what will it help us achieve? It will help us achieve that students, for example, will get to know each other, because students will get to know how each other will feel. So if we wrote this in the what section, we want students to start to getting to know each other. We say that this tool, or this method in the how section, this is trying to help us reach for this goal, which makes the students know each other better. And so on with every step that you are writing the how. Make sure you connect it to every outcome you wrote in the what, and every step, what does it deliver from the outcomes. If you see that it doesn't deliver any outcomes or any obvious outcomes, then you might either ignore it or work better on it, or maybe just add another outcome in the what section, but make sure that it's worthy, and make sure that it makes sense for the whole process, the whole future process, because maybe the first session is the very first thing that you're going to do in your project, but make sure that this helps reach to the obvious, the very big, goal that you wrote in the why. And I want to make something really clear, that you can write, sometimes, like we were recommended to write a proposal for each session. So we make it really detailed and write another bigger proposal for our project. So for each session, if you write a proposal for each session, it will be much easier, because the why will be clear, the what will be clear, the how will be much clearer than writing it for the whole project. However, if you want to write it to the whole project, make sure that you are following the same steps that you have followed in writing it for every section. Make sure you are explicit, be as explicit as you can. Don't ignore the tiny details, because these tiny details make sense for the leader of the proposal, because they do not envision your project as much as you do. If you just write everything down, they will have a clearer picture of the project that you have in your mind. Because if you have a very clear picture of your project, but you are not writing it down, you don't expect the audience to have such a clear or as much clear vision on the project as you have. So basically, you have to be explicit, so you make your picture clearer to the audience. You have to be detailed, as I said, and especially in the what and how outcomes. You have to be very detailed, so you know which outcome you are achieving in the how. And you have to be very clear in the what, so you know that the how can match the what. I can say, for example, I want to reach for something really big when I'm doing something really small, but I have to, make a balance between them. And that's when I gotta be detailed. And I have to be brief. As I said, a project proposal cannot be more than, it says like they can say 2 to 5 pages, but I'm saying 4 or 5 pages for the very big projects, but your max 2 pages. Your max is 2 pages and a half. That's it. Because you have to be brief all the time. So you make your audience, I'm not going to say not bored of your project, but you'll make them not lose, I don't know how they say it, but like not lose whatever. Okay, they don't lose the track. Okay, they don't lose the track while reading your project. You have to be organized, of course, so you let the audience know. The audience knows, and especially those who are gonna fund your project that you are presenting your proposal for. You have to be organized to show them that you are working hard on your project, to show them that everything's so clear, and you don't need to rework on the project, but you are needing something certain from them, and they can see this through you being organized, detailed, brief, and explicit. Okay, I think I'm done with the contents of the project proposal. And here I'm gonna show you a project proposal sample before we move on to Sitora's part about budgeting. I'm sorry if I talked a lot, but I'm gonna show you the sample that we worked on for our project that I told you guys about. Okay, so this is a background and context. This was for the lecture. It wasn't for the proposal itself, but from here it started the proposal. As you can see, we wrote a much bigger why before, and we made it as as small as we could, as brief as we could, to just match the agenda or maybe the criteria that they had for us, and that every project proposal has for you, to be as brief as you can. We tried to address our main goal, and then from there, it was for the whole project. As I said, that this wasn't for a special session, it was for the whole project. And from there, we tried to introduce why we want to make the sessions. The what we were recommended to just write two big whats here, and in the how, just how we are going to achieve the 2 big whats. And you can see that, for example, we said that we're going to start conducting the 2 sessions that use different strategies, and we mentioned the whole strategies. And here the reason why we didn't put time periods, because we put it in another document and we submitted it, and this was for a presentation, but everything was designated to time period. And for example, our process will be advertised by, we said 3 designs for our event, and we posted 3 designs, and so on. And it's very important when you when you applied for funding and you had your key stakeholders already, you have to write them down in your project proposal. You have to write later, who are you going to work with? Who is your category of people who are going to help you achieve your project, who are going to help you achieve your short-term and long-term purposes? Yeah, that was it. The other 2 sections are not important for this, but yeah, I'm done, I guess.
Thank you so much for information about project proposal. Actually, with a very great proposal sample with pretty much information. So let's move to budgeting. Hala, could you please go back and next when I ask you?
Yeah.
Thank you. We will be discussing about the budgeting and resources. Actually, developing budget for the project is one of the most time-consuming tasks, which is also a little bit stressful. Some people struggle with how to fill out the budget form. So we will be discussing how to properly fill it out so that the donor agencies will be able to fund you to implement your project in the future. So in these few slides, you might learn about what is the budget, how to secure funding, and then SMART objectives, such as the Hala mentioned that, for example, bring an example on how, why, what, and where, all the specific information that what was the goal of your product that you want to implement in future. So we will be discussing about SMART objectives and in general about all the budget and resources that might help you in future if you want to implement a project. Um, we often think that the budget is a simple format attached into project proposal, which is filled out according to activities and the strategies of the project. But when you revise your project proposal, you will understand that the budget is a critical component of the project, right? Because budget determines the boundaries of the project, and the budget is one of the how to say, like, determining factors for a project to get a funding. So it's important to think about it before submitting the final version of the budget form. So can you go next? Okay. So we need to identify the budget form as one of the most integral part of the proposal, which will help the donors to understand the scope, impact, and the value of the project. So here's what is budget? Budget is, as I explained, a critical component of the project. It's kind of similar to product proposal, but it explained in monetary term. It means, for example, amount of expenses or amount of money that you request the agency donor that you want to implement for the product. For example, something that meets your needs. So budget is all about something like helps you to realize the product, especially with the funding, because some people, majority of people who want to implement the product, they always seek for, how to say, donor agencies that will help them to further collaborate and to understand what the objective of their project proposal. So here's a quick tip to know for every donor. Can you go next? For every donor, it's very important to know that there is transparency. So transparency means that it's about involving stakeholders, sharing ideas, and building projects with every real activity connected to your goals and objectives. It means that you actually need to them that you have specific proposal that is going to be based on real activities, something that is more realistic than idealistic. So here's how to seek for funding that will help you to fund your project. So here are 4 options, but it can be like, it's kind of a limited option. So the first one is from your own resources. If you have the ability to implement a project, you can also use your own funding. And the second is from a donor agency. As I said, donor agency can be European Commission, USAID, US Embassy, American Council for International Education, T5+1, Global Engagement Fellow as well. Just, there are so many donors that you can look for. And the next one is about from the beneficiary community. It's, for example, program grant. For example, you've been with the exchange program, right? And then you come back, you will be alumni of this program. And the program can help you to enable in implementing the project. For example, you can request them to fund you for your project so that you can bring something to your community, something that is valuable, something that is impactful. And the last one is from local authorities. It can be public service organizations. There are so many public service organizations in any country possible. So they will also be helping to fund the project. But it really depends. For example, Some donor agencies can give you for 100%, some of them can give you for 50%. So you can apply to as many donors as possible. So you can make sure that you have enough funding to implement your product. Can you go next, please? Yes. Sorry. I just confused with the transparency. Actually, what do donors evaluate in budget form? As I said, for every donor, it's important to know that there is a transparency in the project, in the process of implementing project. Transparency actually means it's all about something connected that is with the project goals and objectives. So how does this work? Actually, can you go next? Thank you. So here's the smart goal that you have heard before, I'm sure. So the smart goals will help the agency donors to understand the purpose of the product and what can bring them as the, how to say, for example, confirming them that their funding will be going into, every single penny will be going into something valuable. So the first one is about specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant. So specific means is when you clearly state your goal, what is the goal or objective of your proposal or product. And the second, measurable, it means you need to ensure that you can measure the success. Or for example, it can also include a number or amount of money that you require. So it's also important to keep in mind, like to consider about it. And the next one is achievable or attainable. It means that when you set your goals, you need to know that you can achieve, or you are much sure that you can achieve this product within the set goals of the period. I mean, within the next few periods that you set at the deadline. So relevant means when you set goals relevant to your career or education. For example, you are studying and your major is in gender studies, right? So maybe you will implement a product, something relevant to your education, about girls empowerment or women empowerment. So it will help the agency donor that you are doing something specifically, but not, how to say, unintentional. So it's very important to keep in mind that SMART goals will help them to understand what you want from them. And the last one is about time bound, which means that you need to put a deadline before, in advance, that during how long it will take you to implement a specific product. So these 5 SMART goals can clarify the purpose of your product and to get a funding from agency donors. Could you go now? Okay, so this is to-do list before submitting the budget form that you need to do. So the first one is looking back to product proposal and to identify key activities of your product. For example, in your product, as I said before, girls empowerment, right? So in your product, you have some key activities, something similar to, for example, pitch session or something similar to debate or round table discussion. It depends. So you need to identify key activities and to mention them in your budget form. So it will specify them how many days, how many hours, and how many things you need. And the second one is get back to your budget form and write those important activities down to let them know that what are your activities of your product. And the third one is about calculating the amount of expenses per person, which will give further details about the activity, any expense that you need from the donor agency for funding, and then indicate the total amount. So how it works? It works, for example, when you write down the amount per person, and then in the last column, for example, if you're working in Excel, you can indicate the total amount, for example, in the currency of the country that you are going to implement the project and in the currency of the US dollar. For example, some donor agencies want to know how much money you need, right? So in US dollars, it will be more convenient for them or comfortable for them to calculate how much budget you need. And the fourth one is about considering of expert honorarium. If you need to invite any expert on specific topic to workshop, you need to discuss with the expert beforehand that you will be offering or suggesting specific amount of money as how to say, compensation. So for example, $100 that you will discuss that if you come to our product and to conduct a specific topic on this or that workshop, we will be paying for you $200, $300, depend on your budget. So you need to also discuss these small nuances that are very, very important, because sometimes some experts can come for free or can do something for free, like helping you to implement your product. And some experts need some compensation, even if it's small. So it's very important to consider about it. The last one is about checking out the budget limit of the donor agency. What it means? It means, for example, when you scroll through the website of the donor agency, they will have a specific amount of budget that they offer. For example, they have maximum reach can be $500 or $600. So it means that you don't need to exceed than the average limit. For example, if it's $500, you need to make it exactly 500 or below 500, but you cannot exceed it. But if budget is exceeding, you can, for example, for $100 or for $150, right? You can leave a note in the budget form to explain that why you need more money, or why you think that the budget is exceeding, or for example, you can explain that the item that you're going, or the material that you're going to buy in future is going to cost much more expensive compared to today. So you can be specific about what you want from the donor agency, and to provide them more information so that they can believe that you are intentionally trying to implement a project. Could you please go next? Oh, okay. So this is all about the budgeting and information about how to secure funding and how to use smart objectives. So if you have any questions, you can ask.